Hi, welcome to my channel, Reader Woman. My name's Judy, and let's talk book tags. I came across this book tag. I thought it was very humorous and also a little thought-provoking. I saw it first on Steve Donahue, his channel, but it originated with Bookish, and I watched his original tag, and it was hilarious. So anyways, let's get started. The tag is BookTube at the gym. Number 1, bench press. And let me read this, what he means by bench press. Gives you a chance to show off. What book are you proud of having read? Well, I've mentioned this book before, but I still am very proud of having read Everybody's Autobiography by Gertrude Stein. I've always loved the autobiography of Alice B. Toklas, which is it's an easy read. Let me put it that way. It's not a challenging read. This, on the other hand, I found very challenging. I had to read at the tempo that she wrote it. And it kind of changed my vision a little bit, my life a little bit. Okay, I'll go into it. I don't have my bachelor's degree. I'm far past that age when I should already have had it, but I don't. And I had wanted to write it on James Joyce. And so when I was in college, that was my plan. I was doing comparative literature, great and fine. And I was going to juxtapose James Joyce against the Dadaists and existential, well, not the existentialists, but I forgot, the surrealists. But then, having read this, what really struck me was I had 3, possibly 4 authors of interest. James Joyce, Gertrude Stein, Virginia Woolf, and perhaps Proust. I'm not quite sure if I haven't done as much research as I need to yet. But what hit me was how they all became published. James Joyce was published by Sylvia Beach at Shakespeare and Company, the bookstore, and she funded it. And it had to be printed in France because the morality clauses in England and America were such that it wasn't going to be published there. So then you kind of go back, okay, well then, you know, somebody had to pay for that. It wasn't like a publishing company was taking this on. And the same thing with Virginia Woolf. She and her husband, Leonard, they started Hogarth Press. And one of their premier authors was Virginia Woolf. And then you have Gertrude Stein, who actually had to self-publish. Alice Toklas found money or figured out money and places to get her works printed. So otherwise she would not have been a published author. So I find it interesting that 3, possibly 4, like I said, I haven't really looked into Proust closely enough to know whether he fits exactly within that time frame. I think he's a little bit ahead of time, and it probably won't all work, but it just struck me that how they're published, why they were published, important things to know. So, so anyways, that is my bench press. Number 2, leg day, and his description of it is, lots of people like to skip leg day. What book, genre, author have you skipped because you don't think you can handle it? Or do you wish you had skipped? I really don't like horror. I don't like feeling scared. So that is one genre I just mark off. The other one is romance. I feel like I have read way too much romance in my life, and occasionally I will sit down and read, like, 8 or 10 Regency romances, but otherwise I just tend to stay away from the genre. I thought, I can remember my high school teacher going, "Oh yes, Judy, you're 16. You're too old to read Romeo and Juliet. You need to read it when you're older." And now that I'm older, it's like, I can't imagine liking it. But anyways, so that's one of the Shakespeare plays I have not read. Number 3, crunches. We all know crunches are good for us. What's a book you read because you needed to gain a better understanding of literature, your work, history, etc.? Well, it wasn't exactly had to, but when I came across Harold Bloom and How to Read and Why, I felt like I had to pick it up. And this was the first Harold Bloom I had come across. I really didn't know anything about him. And this particular book is, all I can say, it was eye-opening, and it has led to, if not an appreciation, at least an understanding that there's something to be appreciated with poetry. So yeah, that's that book that has, kind of bridged a lot of things for me. And I definitely know I want to read more classics. I feel like I'm not quite as grounded as I should be there. So Harold Bloom, can't go wrong with him. Number 4, The Treadmill. It's all about endurance. What's a difficult or long book that you powered through? I was thinking about this, and it's, I have to say, it is quite hard for me. I will moan and complain yet again. My library has been, I have it in like 4 or 5 different rooms now, having to make this into a working office. So I feel very put upon because I don't actually have my library here to like look and kind of go, okay, that. However, I was thinking about a book that I do take pride in having read, and that is The White Goddess by Robert Graves. I like books on mythology, and I thought it was a brilliant book. However, I felt that he went off on some very strange tangents that perhaps had nothing to do with mythology and more to do with the fact that he was a poet, and he was using words to try and get you to understand how poetry was probably the first storytelling that happened early on in humanity's history. And but yeah, it took a while. It took a lot to get through that book, but I did. So I'm happy about that. Number 5, Lat Rows. This is all about feeling good about yourself. What's a book, an author, or a genre you read because it makes you feel good or brings you joy? For me, it has to be joy, kind of also equals lightness, laughter. I still enjoy The Rumpole Mysteries by John Mortimer. You have this very grumpy old man who has a wife, she who must not be named, or that isn't quite it, but if you've read the series, you know what I'm talking about. And then he just spouts this wonderful poetry in amongst trying to maneuver in a world that he has grown old in and doesn't quite understand. There's a pathos as well as a sheer joy. And I really enjoy that series. Another place I will go that to give me joy, pleasure, laughter is the world of P.G. Wodehouse. I'm most fond of the Mr. Mulliner stories. Just thinking about him makes me chuckle. He built an amazing world that is still alive today. And so, yeah, that's something to be enjoyed, but also hopefully passed down to more generations of readers. Let's see here. Then number 6, squats. The heavy weight can get you down. What's a book that you found depressing but you pushed through? I have to say, I really love T.C. Boyle, but some of his novels are very grim. And reading San Miguel about the few families who lived on this very remote island off the coast of the central coast of California was pretty depressing. I say that because it's right over on the shelf. I liked it. I thought the prose was wonderful. You know, I try to read most everything he writes, but that was a little grim. Let's see here. Number 7, bicep curls. It's easy to overdo these. Name 2 authors you've read too much. Well, I have to say I have read Dick Francis. I have given up Dick Francis. I was reading Dick Francis after he died and his son took over, and I made the decision not to read more. I grew up in Southern California. Some of the highlights of my, childhood was going to Santa Anita Racetrack. And so we're there, it's just speed. And it amazed me to read about steeplechasing and the fact that it wasn't all professionals who did it, that there were amateur runs. I don't know if that's still true today, but I realize there's cruelty to the animals, and there's a level to the books that's a little sadomasochistic. But yeah, I enjoyed them, but I'm done reading them. The other person is Robert Heinlein. I came across his name on somebody else's channel, and it made me think of all the books I had of his that I'd read. Come to find out, I have taken all those to Goodwill. I no longer own them because I became very concerned about how misogynistic his writing is. The fact that women's there for sex, perky tits and a cute butt, and that was about it. Some of it was much better than others. At first glance, I enjoyed it, and then when I reread them, I felt distanced and uncomfortable, and with time, it's just, not exactly something I do want to continue rereading. So he definitely has a place in sci-fi history, there's no doubt about it, and some of the worlds he created are amazing, but yeah, I can do without him. Number 8, and this is our last question, tricep dips. The triceps are too often ignored. Name 3 authors you need to read more. One is kind of surprising, but I need to really do a complete study of Virginia Woolf. I've read piecemeal. I've read almost all of her diaries that have been published. The last one became very grim. Her depression just seeped into it so strongly. I did not manage to finish it, but I haven't even read all of her novels. So that she is definitely someone I need to just have under my belt and know all of her work. Another one is Elizabeth Huxley. I have, I don't know, 2 or 3 of her books. I've found her very readable, very interesting. I've loved her take on colonial Africa. And that's another one I'd really like to actually have read everything. And also Shakespeare. I've read a good bit of Shakespeare, but I just need to go back and read it all. I think that would be good for me. So that's the end of this tag. And if you've gotten to here, I hope you feel like you are tagged. Make a video. Get this out there. I think it's a fun tag, and hopefully more of us will do it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I am up to 54. I just need 10 more to make my dream come true. My BookTube dream. So anyways, have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.